Yo. What's up, y'all? VZ back with another video. Let's see about Done Untitled. We read to Jasmine Crockett taking it to Jim Jordan. It's a long video. The whole video is not about Jasmine Crockett, so make sure y'all watch the whole video. Can you stop me out, please? I love y'all. Let's get right into it. Let's go.
What in the hell is this? The chairman tweets, "Protect our ducks and kittens in Ohio," because he goes down some crazy rabbit hole, completely debunked that aliens are eating pets. My God, are you okay, Mr. Chairman? Because last year, for a very long time, you tweeted and promoted Kanye West as he was calling for genocide against the Jews, and you kept it up. And now, when we have victims coming here, you're tweeting this nonsense. I don't know why you would do this. I hope you're okay. I don't know if the aliens who are eating your ducks are in the room with us right now, but Mr. Chairman, this is a serious issue. These people have loved ones who have been lost, and you tweeted this.
And you raised this in your testimony, Mr. Fahey. The opportunity cost, when Alvin Bragg did the day one memo, says we are not going to charge all these felonies, we're going to bring them down to misdemeanors and let the bad guys roam the streets of New York. How that squares with what happened here, that to me is the real issue. That's the issue that most Americans see, like, we're going to do this to the former president of the United States, meanwhile, take felony charges against really bad guys on the street and bring them down to misdemeanors. That's the opportunity cost here, I believe, in Manhattan. You get the last word, Mr. Fahey.
Yeah, exactly. When you're letting carjackers out on bail or illegal immigrants that assault police officers aren't getting prosecuted, but this is the way you're using your time, in addition to the fact you run on a soft-on-crime policy and then you take the most creative, aggressive approach to this crime, it's hard to argue it's anything other than a political motivation.
Okay, I got a lot of ground to cover. I do want to clarify, Mr. Fahey, when you consistently talk about or New York crime, you're speaking in an opinionated stance. You're not speaking from a place of fact, correct?
No, I'm speaking from a place of facts.
Okay, well, let me clarify for you. Thank you so much. I'm reclaiming my time. Let me clarify for you that NYPD puts out reports. And in April, it said overall index crime across New York City dropped another 4.9%. As it relates to May, the report says overall index crime across New York dropped another 2.4%, and June's report hasn't come out. I would ask for unanimous consent to enter this into the record.
Special counsel Robert Hur stated on page 1 of his report, quote, "Our investigation uncovered evidence that President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. Joe Biden not only kept information he wasn't allowed to keep, he shared it with people who weren't allowed to see it. To date, Attorney General Garland has failed to produce the audio tapes. To determine whether Special Counsel Hur appropriately carried out justice by not prosecuting, not recommending for prosecution the president, the recordings are necessary. The transcripts alone are not sufficient evidence of the state of the president's memory, frankly, because the White House has a track record of altering the transcripts. The department has a legal obligation to turn over the requested materials pursuant to the subpoena. Attorney General Garland's willful refusal to comply with our subpoena constitutes contempt of Congress."
It is a height of hypocrisy for the chairman of this committee to try to enforce a contempt subpoena against Merrick Garland when this chairman himself ignored a bipartisan congressional subpoena. Now, I've been to a number of proceedings in my time in Congress and in the state legislature that have been relatively stupid. But this proceeding goes beyond stupidity. It is a waste of taxpayer resources. Why is that? Because we have the transcript. We have the transcript of the interview between Special Counsel Robert Hur and President Biden. There's no evidence whatsoever that this transcript was made up, that it's fake, that it's been doctored. This transcript was produced by Robert Hur's office. Robert Hur was appointed by Donald Trump. He is a Republican appointee. The notion that somehow this transcript is fake is a wild, insane conspiracy theory.
Some might call this all election interference. Think about it. Mr. Bragg is charging President Trump with conspiracy to impact the 2016 election. Ms. Willis and Mr. Smith are charging President Trump with the conspiracy to interfere with the 2020 election. Seems to me the conspiracy is between Bragg, Smith, and Willis working to interfere with the 2024 race.
The Mar-a-Lago case is plagued with singular moments where prosecutors took incredibly aggressive and I would say prejudicial steps, the likes of which I had never seen in 35 years of practice on both sides of the aisle.
The Biden administration, and most notably the Department of Justice, appears to have embarked on a journey of political persecution of those with whom it disagrees, with the end result being the total social, economic, and political domination of the populace.
I've been up here for 24 years. I was a soldier when Nixon was president. I am appalled that what began with Watergate as a legitimate scandal of the wrongdoing has now become an organized weaponization by this president and his Department of Justice. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
This was a specific.
Make sure y'all vote. Make sure y'all vote. Make sure y'all vote. Make sure y'all vote. Okay, we got shit. What is today? I don't even know what today. Today's actually Halloween. Happy Halloween, y'all. Make sure y'all vote, man. We got till next week, man. It's very important. That's all I'm gonna say for now.
Specific and obvious tactic of Donald Trump to be able to make a political defense that will never be allowed in a court of law, as Mr. Trusty and Mr. Costello know full well. And all because he wanted to co-opt this notion of election interference because he's a candidate. But let me tell you what is really election interference. Withholding military aid to an ally in the middle of a war in order to coerce and extort a foreign government to investigate a political opponent. Welcoming a foreign country to illegally interfere in our election and then using that interference for his own benefit, as Donald Trump did with Russia in 2016. Spend a year and a half on a completely bogus impeachment investigation into the president without finding a single piece of evidence of wrongdoing. And in fact, the chairman of this committee said the best evidence of President Biden's wrongdoing was a completely false accusation planted by Russia just before the 2020 election. Interesting timing.
I'm here for a celebration because, let's raise a glass. It's been about 2 years this week. May 12 is when Jim Jordan, our chairman, was subpoenaed and asked to comply with his subpoena for his role, his interaction with the former president on the January 6th attack of the Capitol. And so we are now 735 days in. It's 2 years, and this committee has the nerve, this committee has the temerity to seek compliance from the Attorney General. I actually think you should not be able to bring any subpoena of another person if you are out of compliance of your own subpoena. That seems to make a lot of sense to me, and we'll have an amendment to address that a little bit later. This is about doing everything to help Donald Trump, who you see as your client, who a New York criminal trial sees as a defendant, to help him win an election. So I have no interest in playing this game. The American people have no interest in playing this game. And all this does, for those of you who have graced us with your presence, animates that it's a completely do-nothing Congress.
Now, moving on, I just want to level set because I feel as if some people don't understand how government works, and I don't know how they got to Congress. So, Mr. Wu, I'm gonna need you to help me out because I don't know that I trust that other people will know the answers to these questions. Number one, how many branches of government do we have?
3.
3, okay, sounds good. So, can you name them for me?
Legislative, judiciary, and executive.
Very good. Okay, so currently, I think that I serve in the legislative branch. Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay, fine. Can you tell me when somebody goes to court, such as a criminal convicted of 34 felony counts, state court in New York, would that be the legislative people or judicial people?
Well, it's really the executive that's prosecuting, and then it's within the judiciary to run the trial properly.
Okay, very good. So, judiciary. So typically, if someone has an issue with, say, what happens in court, do they then somehow hop from state court all the way to the federal legislative branch, or is there a different process in which you are supposed to be able to explain any issues you may have?
The process would be the judicial appellate process, holding aside the issue of state versus federal.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So normally people don't get convicted on a state level and somehow end up litigating the issue on the federal level in the legislative branch. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So something is different about what's going on today. I just wanted to clarify because I thought I was living in the upside down for a second.
I love the way she talked, man. I love the way she talks. She's so professional, but so aggressive at the same time. She gets to her point, and she has all the facts written down right in front of her as we look at the paper right now. I love her for this, man. Love Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine, what happened for president 2024? Let's go. I'm playing. Let's go.
Now, I want to move on and talk about how someone is prosecuted currently, because under Project 2025, we'll get there. There will be a different way to prosecute people. But currently, it is my understanding, and I only kind of went to law school, passed a couple of bar exams, and practiced on the state and federal levels, but just clarify for me. When someone goes in to be prosecuted, is it, say, the President of the United States that somehow becomes the state prosecutor in New York?
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not, because he's the executor, huh? That's that other branch.
Correct.
That's the, okay. All right, so you have this prosecutor, and in this case, it's Alvin Bragg, who was duly elected, correct?
Correct.
Not appointed by the president, correct?
Right.
Duly elected by the citizens in his jurisdiction, right?
Right.
So he's elected, and usually there's some sort of an investigation that takes place, correct?
Prior to his election? Or?
No. With a case, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I've
correct.
moved on.
Yes.
All right. So the very first part of a case is that we go through an investigation. After that investigation, then the prosecutor usually has what we would consider to be some sort of prosecutorial discretion as to whether or not they want to go forward, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then they use that discretion, but then when it's somebody that is facing a felony amount of time, which is usually in most states over a year, then they have to present it to a grand jury. Is that right?
That's right.
Now, a grand jury is comprised of citizens, correct?
Correct.
U.S. citizens from that area, correct?
Right.
Okay, so they have to come to the conclusion that they are going to issue what we call a true bill, correct?
Correct.
All right, so then we have an indictment. And then there's pretrial motions, there's pretrial hearings, all kinds of stuff, right?
Right.
All right, and then ultimately, depending on where you are, you have the opportunity to say, hey, I want a jury trial, correct?
Correct.
And a jury trial is comprised of U.S. citizens again, right?
Right.
Okay, very good. All right, so can you tell me so far if all of this took place in the case in New York?
Yes, it did.
Oh, okay. All right, so you get to trial. Now, when you show up to trial and you're facing a felony amount of time, as a defendant, are you not entitled to an attorney?
Yes, you are.
And your attorney is allowed to pick the jury, they're allowed to present evidence, and ultimately, it is a jury of your peers who decides whether or not you are guilty or not, correct?
Correct.
And in this case,
the picking has the judge involved too.
And in this case, they found him guilty not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4, not 5, not 6. I could keep going on, but 34 counts were given. So the opinions of these people who were not juries is not what we do in this country. In this country, we have a system in which jurors decide who is found guilty. And if you have a problem with that, you go to the appellate court, which the last time I checked, he was raising money so that he could go to the appellate court and appeal his decision, and they will have the final say so. Thank you so much.
Gentleman from California.
Let's go, Ms. Jazz.
We'll go down the line. I'll do whatever you swallow. Okay.
I'm sorry to each of you for the circumstances that have brought you here. I'm truly sorry that this has happened to your loved ones. And the persons responsible for the deaths of Weston, Arlene, Rachel, Kayla, and Jocelyn should die in jail and then rot in hell.
They are having Miss Jasmine Crockett going crazy, as she usually do. Getting to her point, not playing no games. Every time we watch a video of her, they're trying to cut her time short because she just goes ham, and I love it so much. Like I said, make sure y'all vote, man. We got a week left, less than a week. I don't care who y'all voting for, although I do care, but I'm not gonna judge y'all. You know what I'm saying? We're one country, okay? So at the end of this election, we're gonna come back as one country, but make sure y'all vote. You know what I'm saying? It's very, 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 very important. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on the video, on the channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload, y'all. And yeah, I love y'all. Peace and love, baby. And I am out.